Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were
When
made.
everything changed, I was sitting on the edge of my bed crying. Everything in me wanted to move, but fear had frozen me. Then my 11-year-old daughter walked into the room. She sat beside me and she asked, "Why do you stay in this chaos?" I looked at her, heartbroken, ashamed, and I said, "Because I'm afraid. I don't know what to do. I'm scared to leave and you lose another father figure." She looked at me with those innocent eyes and said, "Words I'll never forget. As long as I have you, that's all that matters." In that moment, something shifted. I knew I had to leave, but it wasn't just her I was carrying. I had her siblings at the time who were 3 and 1. 3 small children, no clear plan, just a tired heart and a mustard seed of faith. I called my mom, and her response was simple: just come home. Even that felt impossible. I wrestled with all the what ifs. Could I really do this? Raise 3 children, work full time, run a small business, and try to heal? It tested my faith in every way. But looking back now, I can see that God was already walking me through the unknowns. He knew the plan, even if I couldn't see it. I wasn't new to faith. I was born and raised in church. My grandmother, Lizzie Ruth, was an evangelist. She was also my Sunday school teacher, and she would take me on the road with her to her speaking engagements. I didn't know it then, but she was preparing me for platforms like this, for storms I didn't see coming, and for the purpose that I would one day walk in. When I was just 13 years old, I lost her. That's when the lights went dim, and that's when the depression began. At 14 years old, we moved from Syracuse, New York to Toledo, Ohio, because our General Motors plant closed where my father worked. We had no family nearby, no support system at all. That's when I started to realize that my parents were fighting their own demons. My mother, one of the strongest women I know, was battling with severe mental health challenges due to childhood trauma, which led to a drug addiction. And to cope, my father was dealing with alcoholism. So that left me, the oldest, to take care of my brother and sister, who were 11 and 5 years old at the time. So I was going to high school, maintaining a 3.9 grade point average, and running track and cross country. I didn't have time for boys or parties. I didn't have the luxury of a social life. I didn't have time to fall apart. I just kept pushing. Despite the pressure, the pain, and the silence I carried, I graduated high school. I then went on to attend Eastern Michigan University, where I earned my Bachelor's of Science in Public Law and Government with a minor in Communications. That degree just wasn't a piece of paper. It was a symbol that I had persevered, and it meant everything to my dad because he never graduated high school. I remember the day I was graduating, I was walking across the stage, and he's in the rafters, and all I can hear is, "Yeah," my baby's name, which I will not repeat, but It was like through me, he got to walk through a door that never opened for him. After graduating, I moved back to Wisconsin and I was going out every single night because I didn't get to do it when I was a teenager. I was looking for escape, looking for connection, and falling into some of the worst relationships I have ever been in. And eventually, I decided I'm going to move back to Syracuse, New York, and try to reset my life. And I was working for a little bit. Then one day, I met my oldest daughter's father inside of the Sam Goody at the mall, of all places. And for the first time in my life, I had a man treat me well. The relationship moved quickly, and soon I became pregnant. But by May of 2007, the relationship was declining. And I said to him, "Hey, I need your support, or I'm going to go back to Wisconsin." He looked at me and he said, "You got to do what you got to do." Mm. I put in my 2 weeks' notice. I packed what little I had, and I put myself on a train back to Wisconsin. 4 months pregnant, no money, no job, no way to support the life that I was carrying inside of me. But I had faith, and I had a reason to fight. Once I got back to Wisconsin, my parents and my siblings stepped right in. They bought Kylia everything, who was born on November 2nd, 2007. By the time she was 2 months old, I had a job as a float receptionist at Mercy Hospital in Janesville. By the time she was 4 months old, I had a job, a permanent position at the hospital as a department secretary of medical management. By the time she was 6 months old, we had our own apartment. I had made it a goal to take her to Disney World when she turned 5 years old, and I did it. I was navigating single motherhood, building a stable home, and showing my daughter what it was like to keep going, even though it was hard. But then in 2010, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. Between hospitalizations, medications, and dark thoughts, I felt like I was losing the war inside of my own mind. But 2014, that was a pivotal year for me. My friend Kawana Ragland came to me and she came to visit. And she said to me, "Paquita, you have to find out who you are outside of being a wife and a mother." I didn't have the answer, so I prayed for one. And God reminded me, "You love to create." See, when I was crafting, that was my escape. It was my therapy. It was my voice. I didn't feel like I was broken. I didn't feel like I was a failure or a burden or someone just trying to survive. It was the one place in my mind that I could quiet down, where my hands could create beauty out of nothing. So in 2014, my mother and I created our first business, Blessed Divine Creations. It's a retail gift shop that specializes in customized gifts and more. Born in pain, but fueled by purpose. We began to vend all across Wisconsin, and with every customer I spoke to, my confidence grew. And then I had business mentors like Sabrina Madison of the Progress Center for Black Women and Gina K. Stevens of Rock County Jumpstart began to pour into our business in me. They saw something in me that I was just beginning to see for myself. With that confidence, I decided to leave in 2019. My children and I moved back in with my parents in Janesville, Wisconsin. That was the year I committed to healing. Started therapy, some deep soul work. But this time I told my therapist, no medication. I need to feel this. I need to find me again. But it's amazing when you're in that season, God will send somebody to you that you need to pour into you. And for me, that was a woman named Vicki Lynn. She's the founder of the Black Women in Business Expo Beloit. She was a powerhouse. She was a light. She was a comedian, a visionary, and she had this gift of seeing greatness in people. I went to her first expo and I was sitting behind my table and I was still being a little shy. And she walked over to me. She said, "You're doper than you realize. And you're going to help me with this expo next year." I said, who, me? She said, "Yeah, you." So over the next 4 years, she poured into me. She challenged me and she helped me to find my voice. She also was battling with kidney failure. And one day she said to me directly, "If anything happens to me, I want you to take over this expo." I didn't know it then, but she was also leading me for more than a role, but she was passing on legacy to me. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. In 2020, we began vending at the Janesville Farmers Market in the Uptown Janesville. Our booth was situated in front of an empty storefront that used to be a Christopher and Banks. And every week I would peer into the store and I'm like, God, this would make such a beautiful storefront. And week after week, I would just look in and I would walk by and I would pray and asking God to align His will with my dreams. Then in 2021, Rock County Jumpstart began advocating with the mall for Black owned businesses to fill some of these empty vacancies. And I remember walking into that office at the mall, and the mall manager was like, "Do you have any storefronts in mind?" And without hesitation, I said, "Christopher and Banks." She smiled and she looked up at me and said, "The keys on this desk, those are the Christopher and Banks." You can't tell me that God doesn't answer prayers. You can't tell me He doesn't have the plan. He doesn't play about me. He shows up and He shows out. In 2023, Vicki Lynn passed away unexpectedly. It shook me, it hurt, but those words echoed. And I was, "You have to take it over." So today, I lead the Black Women in Business Expo Beloit as the committee lead with our committee, um, honoring her legacy and not just as an event, it's a calling. Healing isn't pretty and it's never easy. It takes a lot, but you have to do the work. You have to do the healing because without healing, you stay in the ashes. And I did not come through the fire to stay burned. Every step of healing pulled me closer to the woman that I was supposed to become. That healing brought something, some things that I've just never expected. Uh, I was invited by Araceli Esperza, founder of Midwest Mujeres, to train for her Yo Quiero Dinero event to speak publicly for the first time. I trained with 7 other dynamic women, and I got to meet my stage partner, Vanessa Cook, who would later go on to become such a light in my life. Just a few minutes before Vanessa and I were to go on stage, Arceli came to me. She pulled me to the side. I still had Vanessa's hand. And she said something that made my heart stop. There was someone in the audience that I never wanted to show up. I froze, my mind raced, my throat closed, thinking I worked so hard to be on this stage. And then I felt it, a slight squeeze from Vanessa's hand in mine. And without even looking at her, I knew exactly what that meant. You got this. Speak anyways. So I turned back to Araceli and said, no, don't make them leave. Let them sit there and listen. In that moment, I took my power back. That night, I stood in the spotlight. I told my truth. I didn't whisper it. I didn't water it down. That night made me realize that I could use my voice in even bigger ways. Because I'm not who the trauma said I was. I am not who the depression tried to silence. I am who God says I am, a woman of faith, a mother, a business owner, a leader, a speaker, a survivor. You don't have to have this thing all figured out. You just need to know that there is a divine solution already inside of you. So through both businesses, I get to help others find their own divine strategies. Blessed Divine Creations is still serving with heart, offering handcrafted gifts and inspiration. And my newest brand, The Divine Solutionist, helps empower entrepreneurs with strategic coaching, spiritual alignment, and practical tools to help them build their businesses. You see, everything that I walked through didn't ruin me, it refined me. Every setback, every tear, every moment that I wanted to give up was fire shaping something greater in me. So if you're listening to me today, you are not broken. You're being rebuilt. The pain did not come to bury you, it came to reveal you. So don't just survive it, build. Build the life you deserve, build the business, build the boundaries, because you are not what came to break you. You are the evidence of what healing can become. Because when you survive the fire, you don't come out the same. You come out refined. You come out ready. And I am ready. Thank you.
Your story matters.